KitchenAid Professional 600 mixer. This is the first screw you got to take out. Pretty simple. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Put the screws somewhere where they won't get lost. It's 4 screws, 2 on each side. Lid comes right off very easily. So this is the gearbox right here, and this is what I'm going to be removing first to put all the new parts in that I ordered. 2 of the parts are already in there because I took it apart last week and cleaned it, so all the old grease is out of it. You have to clean the old grease out to put the new grease in there, just in case there are any gear parts in there, not to mention it was the wrong kind of grease that was in there. So as you can see, it's pretty clean in there. This is pretty clean. So all these parts are getting replaced anyway. I'm gonna pause the video for a second and get. I'm back with my rubber gloves. Sometimes when you do these, this gasket has to be changed, and when you order the parts on Amazon, this always shows up as one of the parts that people order too. So, but this gasket is fine. It's not ripped. It's not overworn. So I'm gonna reuse it. It's fine. As much grease as you can get is ideal, but it's not totally necessary. So the first step to taking this all apart, this is the worm gear. Take that and put it down and make sure that you look at where all of these things are put on there, because all these are floating parts. So they need to be put on the new worm gear exactly the way that the old one was, obviously, so that it works. I'm going to open up all my other parts. This is the translator to the grinder mechanism for the other functions of the mixer besides mixing, for the attachments and all that. This tops the worm gear. It's that, so it's a new one. And then this is actually a new worm gear that I put in last week that's just not greased up yet, as a matter of fact. So, forgot about that. I already did that. So this is how we take this apart. These are called slip ring pliers, so you have to put them in these 2 little holes right there. Put the pliers in the holes, spread apart, and remove that slip ring. Put that somewhere where it won't get lost. And then just take something else, maybe one of the old gears at the top of this, and oops, oh, wait a minute. This comes off, then there's actually a pin that goes in there that keeps that on. I'm gonna poke that out. So that pin comes out right there. And then we can push this whole thing down and all this comes off. So this is brand new. So all I have to do is install this and this and put the new worm gear back in there too. So that's going to be pretty fast and easy. But what I want to do first is pack this with grease. All the grease, this is where the worm gear flows right here, so that's going to get a lot of grease. And then right around this is where the worm gear follower is spinning, so that needs a lot of grease in there too. This is food grade bearing grease. So in other words, it is okay basically to mix with food without it being toxic. You know, you don't want to eat it, but it won't kill you if you mix it with food, in other words, so that's good. So you don't want toxic grease in your mixer. Pretty much pack that. The gearbox is going to go back on top of this, so anything that squeezes out is going to just squeeze up into the gearbox and come out the front where the attachments go. It'll be fine if there's a little bit too much grease in it. That's why it's food grade, in case some of it escapes through the front. The gasket is going to keep it from escaping out the side. So what we do first is we put this back in. That's how we had it, right up to the center. It goes in totally easily and perfect. There's no trick to it or anything like that. You can drop this thing down. Find that pin. Put that pin right back in. So then the trick is to align the pin so that it's going along the oblong way of this gear, because this, as you can see, has a certain shape on the inside of it that has to go down and fit over that, and the pins get, so now it's aligned. So now I'm going to take the slip ring and put the pliers inside of it. Spread it and put it down over that and get it into the slot, which it's in right now, so that's perfect. Then we put the worm gear, so you can see that the worm gear has these, oh great, that's not what supposed to happen. So this ball bearing goes, so there's a part with a slot in it, and that's the part that the bearings ride in, and then this one also has a slot so that it's curved. There's a slot on one side of the washer and not on the other, so the one with the slot has to go on there, and then this goes like that. And so these are, as you can see, they're both oblong, they're straight on one side and round on the other, so the straight side has to go vertical like that. And it just floats in there. So it goes on the other side of this. So the worm gear, there's a little slot right there, and it goes on the inside of that so that it comes into contact with the main shaft of the motor, which has teeth on it. It's a worm gear style gear. Alright. As opposed to a cylinder, which is or one of these. Here. Right up over there. So this is the main cylinder. I mean, this is the main shaft gear right there. It comes out, hits the worm gear, which then translates to this worm gear follower, and then this is the gear that hits this for the attachment, which we will put. I'm just going to put a little grease on this. And put it into where it goes, right in here. It just sits there. And then basically, just for good measure, take some more grease, put it on top of the stuff. Have a delivery. Let me pause the video for a second. Okay, so I took my gloves off because I don't really need them, because I'm just putting this back on. It just fits down really easily. It's real simple. One of these screws can be kind of difficult to put in, especially if you have gloves on. It's this one back here. If you really have trouble, you can take this circuit board off. But I was able to slip it in there pretty easily. Don't tighten them all down all the way at first. You gotta put them all in and get them basically seated, and then once you do that, then you can tighten them down just like a car wheel, You don't want to tighten one down and then have the other, because it'll bulge the. It'll put a bulge in the gasket and maybe rip the gasket. So you want to have even pressure on this gasket. So there's that. So tighten down slowly. Every time you tighten one of these screws, it releases the pressure on the other screws, so you just have to kind of keep moving around until they're all tight. That one's pretty tight, that one's pretty tight. Pretty tight. Now we can listen to it, see if it's fixed. Don't touch anything in here while you've got it plugged in, because you will get shocked probably, especially if you touch it before the transformer, which is that. You do want to run the machine for a little while with no load on it to spread the grease around to make sure that it's not broken, to make sure that it's fixed right, and it appears that it is fixed right. So I'm going to just run the machine for a little while, and that's it. That's how I fix the Professional 600 mixer.